Police have been accused of, quote unquote, an alarming attack on the right to protest after arresting organisers of approved demonstrations. There have been, slowly but surely, more and more rules and regulations around the right to protest recently. Am I not wrong?
Yeah, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, despite some of the things that I might say on the show sometimes, Tricia. But I think we have been inching over not just the last couple of years, but over a long period of time towards a kind of regulation of protest that seems to make it meaningless. I mean, imagine, you just told us, didn't you, Tricia, about the idea of a registered and authorised protest? Doesn't that seem to kind of,
Yes.
The idea that the government has to authorise, or the police, who are essentially a branch of government, has to authorise you to be able to express your discontent with the way that the government operates. Now, don't get me wrong. There are practical reasons that consideration should be shown for other citizens in the context of in the context of their lives and all of that. And I'm not a massive fan of some of the disruption especially to kind of hardworking, sometimes poor working people who are just trying to get on with their lives by a kind of a minority who think that their opinions are more important than anybody else's because their issue is more important than anyone else's. Newsflash, everybody thinks their opinions are their...
Exactly. But here's the thing. If you've got to have a rules and regulations, I mean, I'm just thinking, and I know I'm an oldie, but the Czech uprising, some of the big historical changes...
Sorry.
Yeah, but some of the big historical changes that have come about from people power, would I be right in saying in Britain anyway, or in England anyway, under these new laws, most of those would not have been allowed to go ahead?
Oh, I mean, that's the old adage. I mean, people forget that the Suffragettes, by our modern standards, were basically a terrorist group, smashing windows, on one particularly graphic and famous occasion, throwing yourself in front of a horse so you die at a...
Yes.
We're talking about serious renegades who thought they were never going to be able to affect change unless they seriously upped the ante. Well, isn't that the mantra of the type of people? In fact, aren't they dumbed down and very much watered down? Gluing yourself to a road is comparatively tame by comparison.
Yes.
In respect of this story, though, which really relates to the royal thing. I mean, I have to say, I think it's fascinating because there are a few conflicting statements going on that occur, because on the one hand, I didn't particularly like the idea of people, even as a person who's not particularly a monarchist, I didn't particularly like the idea of somebody disrupting a solemn occasion, which is nevertheless a state occasion. At the same time, in a free society, well, shouldn't peaceful protest be sacrosanct? The thing that I thought was particularly eerie here, and I think at the very best reflects not very well on the police and their relationship with the royal family, is this. Right. The protesters appear to have been targeted by police, arrested in the morning, let go in the evening, for the most part not charged, as a way that smacks of the kind of arrest, neutralise, disable, and then later release. That's the type of things that kind of, these authoritarian tin pot leaders.
I was going to say,
don't they?
Absolutely, and Britain would be very quick to condemn in other countries.
Yeah, I think it at the very best it undermines. I think it backfires, that type of thing, because it undermines the position of the royal family. Because they should at least, if we're not really a democracy, they should be at least going overboard to try to give us the illusion that we are. And I just think it kind of paints them in a poor light. Prince Harry kind of talks about he calls them the firm.
The mafia.
Mafia-like organisation. I don't know if that's true. I think it's probably not as straightforward as that. But I think this is horrifically arrogant, and I think it probably has the opposite effect. They'd be better off to have a few hecklers. They did the same with Prince Andrew, didn't they? Prince Andrew settled with a complainant in America over alleging that he was a paedophile. I mean, I don't know the facts of that case, but I think that the right of a person to heckle him should be something that we probably are keen to protect in law.